Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the February 5, 2014 regular meeting of the Lopatcong Township Council. If I could ask everybody, please, to bow their heads briefly for a moment of silence. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided indicating the time and place of same in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Here.
Councilman Carroll?
Here.
Councilwoman McCabe?
Here.
Here.
Here. The first item on the, well, actually, we'll do an executive session statement, please, Mr. Lavery.
We have executive session at approximately 7:20 p.m. We discussed a couple of matters. There's two personnel matters, one dealing with the Lopat PD, another dealing with the CFO position. We dealt with the contractual matter dealing with the South Sidewalk project. Dealt with the contractual matter dealing with the state electric cable contract. We dealt with an attorney-client privilege matter dealing with billboard. And finally, a contractual simplification matter dealing with the sewer. No official action was taken. Copies of these minutes will be available at that time.
Thank you very much. Motion to go out of executive session?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Mr. Lavery. The first item on the agenda, we had a sergeant retire, resign, if you will. So the first item on the agenda is to adopt a resolution to swear in Jonathan Erickson as a sergeant provisionally in the police department pending the civil service list of eligibles. It's based on Chief Marinelli's recommendation. And on that note, I'd like to invite Mr. Erickson to come forward so that he can take the oath. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Sergeant. Before we get started, I know there's a bunch of guys here from the road department, and I'd also like to acknowledge them and the work they've done the last 24 hours this past winter, and thank them for their time and efforts. They just finished about an hour and a half ago from this most recent round of storms, and without any rest came in to say hello and to check in with all of us. And I would hope council would join me in thanking them for the time and energy that they've put in so far, trying to keep our streets clean as best they can. So, Brian. Public comment on agenda items.
Swim for Byron Drive. When we get to the agenda item of appointing Bruce Hall to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I'd be interested in the general selection process and your thoughts about giving broader community participation. I'm not asking about Mr. Hall's qualifications, just that we built 2 other slots, so that may be under the process and getting more people involved in township affairs.
Great.
We haven't received, we're still, if anybody wants to apply, we're still accepting applications. We still have open slots, so we encourage anyone to apply.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Under old business, the first item was to approve the minutes of the December 30, 2013 and January 6, 2014 reorganization meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Is there a second? Second. Is there discussion? I want to read a statement that I prepared. Last night, there was a statement, and it relates directly to the minutes. Last month, there was a statement read as it relates to some of the items that are reflected in those minutes. Last month, we had a discussion over the appointment of certain of the township's professionals for the upcoming year. I am revisiting that discussion now because Councilwoman Schneider's comment and my response are reflected in the minutes of last month's meeting on which we will be voting shortly. More specifically, at last month's meeting, Councilwoman Schneider read what she represented was a prepared statement, which she claimed that our request for proposal process was flawed. She made a, quote, motion to carry over all the pay-to-play support professionals, an important term because it's going to come up again in a few minutes, support professional bids and appointments to all municipal boards, and all of these resolutions from January's agenda so we can make sure Lopatcong is getting the most qualified professionals for the fees being paid. There's ample time for her and any other council person to fully research their contracts for the benefit of the taxpayers and herself. She asserted that she made, quote, made every effort to ask for copies and information regarding tonight's meeting and was unsuccessful. She characterized the process as unprofessional, void of transparency, and improper. Her motion was not seconded when Councilwomen Chesla and McCabe and Councilman Belcaro were polled. Each indicated that they had sufficient time to review the various proposals and in fact came to the municipal building and did so. This council employed in 2014 the same RFP review process is employed for the 14 years that I've been here and for an unknown number of years prior to my tenure. All responses to proposals for professional appointments are made available to me and all council members days in advance here in this building. There are multiple copies so each of us can make notes in our respective packets. All any of us has to do is come here, sit down, and review them. Councilwoman Schneider represented that she, quote, made every effort to ask for copies, but what she didn't do was make a significant effort to come in and review them. She blamed our processes on her failure to review the scant materials the rest of us reviewed, but I believe her goal was not just to impugn our processes, but also to impugn us, her colleagues. First, as I pointed out last month, and was challenged by Ms. Schneider for doing so, there were no contracts to review. There were only responses to the requests for proposals, and there were only 5 of them at that. That's important for 2 reasons. First, it makes it sound like there was far more to review than there actually was. Contracts, which can be longer and substantially more complicated, are not part of what any of us was asked or required to review last meeting. They are, as I represented they would be, part of tonight's agenda for us to review and adopt. Second, when I pointed out to Ms. Schneider that there were no contracts for us to review, she became indignant, claiming that she never used that word. Referring to her pre-prepared statement, Ms. Schneider said, quote, I have a copy right here, so I didn't say that. I'm not changing my words. This is what I wrote here. It has nothing to do with contracts. That entire exchange, the word contracts, my explanation, and her response are all reflected verbatim in the minutes before you. If there is some concern with the accuracy of that exchange, as most of you know, our meetings are now recorded so that we can preserve what is said, by whom, and how. I watched the video the day after January's reorganization meeting. It is queued up to play here today if necessary. Councilwoman Schneider's contract comment is made at 13 minutes 48 seconds into the meeting. My response at 17:44, her denial at 18:31, my response to that at 18:38, and her continued denial at 18 minutes 40 seconds. I accused Ms. Schneider of grandstanding then, and I will demonstrate tonight why. When this council solicits requests for proposals, when we review them, when we make motions and cast votes, I want to believe that we do so with the township's best interests at heart. I know I do, despite what are obvious fundamental differences in what many of us perceive to be in the township's best interests. These are the 2014 RFP responses. There were 5, 1 for auditor, 1 for township attorney, and 3 for labor attorney. A year ago, in January 2013, 3 new council members faced the same task under the same exact procedures, but to review this. This pile reflects the 2013 RFP responses, and that pile reflects the 2014 RFP responses. This is what Ms. Chesla, Ms. McCabe, and Mr. Belcaro reviewed as new council members a little more than a year ago. This is what the same 3 council members reviewed this year, and what Ms. Schneider was elected to do, but chose not to do. Not only did Councilwoman Chesla and McCabe and Councilman Belcaro have nearly 4 times the material to review, but they came here, actually reviewed it, and didn't make excuses or pander to newspapers claiming that their task was insurmountable, or more specifically, that our process was unprofessional, void of transparency, or improper. In short, they did their job. Last month, Councilwoman Schneider said she wanted, quote, residents to understand, close quote, what went on here. This month, I would like residents to understand what is going on here. This is a voicemail message that was left last year for one of the councilwomen sitting up here tonight. It was saved by that councilwoman and forwarded to me by that councilwoman out of concern for the way last month's meeting evolved. Because she loves this township as much as I do, because when she makes a statement, a motion, or a vote like me, she does it for the township, not to play politics, garner political favor, malign her fellow council members, or seek maliciously to impugn them or their process for political gain. Councilwoman McCabe, Councilwoman Chesla were encouraged to state publicly they didn't have enough time to review the RFP responses, to abstain from the, quote, support professionals. And I will tell you that in the 15 years I've been doing this, I have never heard the appointed professionals referred to as support professionals until Ms. Schneider used that phrase last month. It showed up again in Ms. Endek's voicemail message. To abstain from the support professional vote for the same reasons, simply make a motion to table them, or one might say, and I quote, carry over all the pay-to-play support professional bids and appointments to all municipal boards and all of these resolutions so we can make sure there's ample time for her and any other council person to fully research their contracts for the benefit of the taxpayers and herself. What you saw last month was an act. We were duped. All of us here at this dais, most of you sitting out there in the audience, and all of us living here in this township. We were duped by the very same people who don't believe that we're smart enough to think for ourselves, speak for ourselves, or vote for ourselves. This binder is a binder of emails provided to me by the same councilwoman who forwarded the voice message. They aren't township emails, but they're personal political emails that from December 2012 prior represent a roadmap for manipulating members of the press, the public, and this council. In one particularly poignant sentence, they refer to all of you as the less than bright general public, which is why one can only surmise it is so important that you be bombarded with blogs, sound bites, and home intrusions, and us here peppered with politically motivated questions, motions, and votes. The minutes before you represent the town's business from the 2014 reorganization meeting. There are 10 months left after tonight to advance the township's interests or your own, and I ask each of you sitting up here at the dais to ask yourselves why you are here. I spent 14 years of my life putting this township's interest ahead of my own. I have a little less than 11 months left to go. It's going to be a fast-moving 329 days, and I, for one, will not sit around and slow down to wait for anyone to pretend to do their job to catch up. if you want to know where the email is. Anybody else?
I would like to say something.
Right away.
If you want to get, I'm sorry, it was my first night up here. When you were trying to correct me saying that there were no contracts to review, what my point was I wanted to look at the year prior's contracts and then take them and compare them to this year's bids. So, I'm sorry if you misunderstood what I meant, but that's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about reviewing contracts. I was talking about reviewing the prior year's contracts. As far as anything else, I mean, I wrote my own letter. I didn't have anyone help me write my letter. It was sitting up on my computer for days, trying to figure out how to do this. And in your statement, in the minutes, you did say that the bids were made available to everyone on December 27th. They weren't made available to me on December 27th. They were made available to me on January 2nd. And the next day was a snow day.
No, they were opened on the 27th. We had a meeting on the 30th. I made everyone aware that I was going to put a report together and that then you come in on that Thursday. Review. And you did come in that Thursday.
Because you called me in the morning to say that they were ready to come in, to be reviewed.
First time anybody was able to review them. And then Friday we had a snow day. And then I came in over the weekend, but you had left a message on Phyllis's answering machine, not on mine. And I would have gladly have called you to come in.
Well, I'm sorry, I assumed that Phyllis would, I assumed somebody would be here or it would be Phyllis, and I wasn't really sure of how the phone works. Right, but I know you were here. I didn't know you were here. I don't have keys. I don't know if anyone else has access to the building. Do other council members too?
I left messages right on my answering machine in my office in the past. So I was quite surprised that you didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I could have called you.
Well, yeah, it's a misunderstanding, I guess, but, I left it on Phyllis's. I assumed that one of you may have been in to call me if you were in on that Friday. And then if you didn't get the message, if Phyllis got the message, she would have given it to you, but apparently nobody was here on that Friday. The weekend, I wouldn't have assumed anybody was here. For one day to try and look through all those things, I think is unfair. I asked to take them home. I was told no. I don't know. You said this process has been done this way for 14 years, but that doesn't mean that works all the time. And I would have liked the chance to take them home and review them and look at last year's to make an educated decision.
That's it.
One more thing. I'm not here to dupe anybody or to grandstand. I ran because I wanted to have, I wanted to know what was going on here. I wanted to have some transparency. Things just seemed too secretive and, I didn't feel I was getting enough information in the public. So that's why I ran, to come in here and to gain more knowledge and learn about my town, because quite frankly, before any of this happened, I never attended a town council meeting. I became interested, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Well, in fact, you did dupe everybody, and I will say to you that it's no small irony that you used the same words in your prepared speech, Ms. Schneider, that Ms. Endek left on an email a month ago for Ms. McCabe and Ms. Chesla. And quite frankly, at least they had the honor to come and do the work, as opposed to sit here and try to blame their failure to do the work on the rest of us. So that being, no, we're voting on the minutes in a second. That being said, anybody else have any other comments on the minutes?
The minutes, just on the RFP process from last year.
You want to finish up the minutes?
Yeah, we can finish up.
Anybody else on the minutes themselves? Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
just on the executive session for December 30th, that's correct, right?
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesla, Mayor Steinberg.
Yes, ma'am. Under the new business, item number 1 is a resolution to award a non-fair and open contract to John Drakowitz of Gibbons PC as bond counsel. Sorry about that. Elementary school calling. Resolution to award a non-fair and open contract to John Drakowitz of Gibbons PC as bond counsel and for work related to the USDA Route 57 pump station project. Questions, comments from council? Motion on item 1.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Caro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe, Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item 2 is to approve a donation of an individual pool pass to Pin Cancer for raffle on behalf of the Lopatcong wrestling team, the 10th annual Future Champions Wrestling Tournament. Questions or comments on item 2? Motion?
Motion.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Caro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes, item 3 is to approve a donation of an individual pool pass to Bloomsbury School PTO 23rd Annual Tricky Tray. It's a request each year from the Bloomsbury School PTO that we've been doing for as long as I can remember. Questions or comments on 3? Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Caro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item 4 is a resolution in support of the NEA's Read Across America to recommit our community to engage in programs and activities to make America's children the best readers in the world. A request from the NEA. It's self-explanatory. Questions or comments?
Are we actually issuing the proclamation?
It's just adopting a resolution that would then be forwarded to them. Questions or comments? Others? Motion?
Motion.
Second. Discussion? Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Caro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item 5 is a resolution in support of legislation to implement a water usage tax under the Highlands Water Protection Bill. This comes to us at a request from Mayor Curran of Lopatcong Township. They adopted a similar resolution. Proposed legislation would impose a tax on those using water from the Highlands to reimburse or make whole the folks whose property values were decreased as a result of the Highlands. Insofar as we only have a small portion of our township, but yet we still have residents that were affected by it, it makes sense to me. I would ask council to consider it. Is there a motion on item 5?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
This is the taxes on people who actually use the water that's coming from the Highlands, correct?
Yes.
Getting back to this legislation here, it's the state that created the Highlands Act.
Mhm.
And, I think that, for the people that have lost value to their property, I think they should seek the state some kind of reimbursement for the value of their property. But I don't think, and it's only my opinion, that again, the effect on the citizens of that affects the Highlands water usage.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Caro,
No.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. And number 6 is to approve Bruce Hall to the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Anything you want to add, Ms. Sessom?
No, that's just that we encourage everyone to apply. We still have how many seats open? 4. About 4. With this one, we will have quorum. Yeah, so this way we can meet as soon.
Schedule a meeting.
Yeah,
soon.
very soon.
Can I ask a question? Was Bruce the only person that applied?
We have 9 positions open. We've only received 5 applications, so those 5 are appointed.
So all those
We
5?
need 4 more people.
Okay.
And I believe we now have 2 alternates. We're not allowed to have, the ordinance says not more than 9. Technically, if you argue it, we have quorum now because we had 4 is not more than 9. But I'm still looking for people to apply. We both are. So
Okay.
we openly encourage it.
You have to meet the standards
Right.
of the ordinance.
They have to meet the standards of the ordinance, but we do have a little clause if we feel it benefits Lopatcong to have them on, for the reason, we're looking for real estate people, we're looking for marketing people. Those are the 2 two positions right now that are the most important that we'd like to get in. But Bruce brings his zoning and his planning board experience, which will be a huge help to us.
Any other discussion? Need a motion, a second?
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
No.
Councilman Belcaro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 7 is to appoint Joe Pryor to the planning board. Joe served as the township's sewer engineer for as long as I can remember. Lucky for Joe, he recently retired from JMT and asked if there was an opening on any of the town's boards he would be interested in serving. Joe brings a wealth of knowledge to the planning board, given his familiarity with the township's engineering operations, and I recommend him to you very highly. So there's a motion on item 7.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing transfer of appropriations to the 2014 Lopatcong budget. 2014 Lopatcong Municipal Budget Appropriation Reserve during the first 3 months of the year per NJSA 48:4-59 in the amount of $25,450. We're permitted at the end of each year and at the beginning of each year to move monies around within the municipal budget. Let me just give you a hypothetical. Let's assume, for instance, we put X number of dollars in lawn mowing last year, and as a result of the exceptional winter that we've had, not a lot of need there. We need to move money around in order to meet our budgetary needs for the snow removal and salt, et cetera. It enables us to move money. That statute enables us to move money around, existing monies around within the existing budget. So at the request of the CFO, we're being asked to move $25,450 around. Questions, comments? Motion?
Motion.
Second? Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. Number 9 is to authorize payment to Duane Contracting for work completed on the Route 57 pump station, the amount of $30,472. Anything you want to add? Is what it is. Based on Mr. Madden's recommendation. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, item number 10 is ordinance number 14-01. It's a first reading to abolish the Recreation Commission and in its place instead create the Recreation Committee. Questions?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a commission and a committee?
The commission in this case, what happened is there is a New Jersey statute that actually covers recreation commissions, and if we kept it as a commission, we would have to follow those statutes. It would actually give the commission more power than we wish it to have at this point in time. The committee is supposed to be more, it's more of an advisory thing. We're going to come and we'll discuss like we want to have a parade. Okay, we're going to have a parade. We'll come to council. We'll see, can we have a parade? What can we do? Can we fundraise? There's a slew of statutes for the commission, and we don't want to keep it as a commission because then we would have to abide by those laws. This way we can keep it advisory. We, as the council in town, keep control of the committee, and like I said, it is advisory. Everything that we plan on doing, we're going to bring back here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I noticed the wording is different between the two. The new one under committee says enhancements to any town-owned property for recreational activities. Is that
right? And we did put in the word non-binding in there. That is because there is a push to see if maybe perhaps we could extend the bike path that was originally proposed. If we could, again, nothing is out there. We would come before the board to do anything. Maybe create, better visual walking paths. I know one of the huge concerns is that there is not a safe way for children to ride their bikes or walk to the pool at this point. So even just as far as the committee coming in and saying, we would like to, even just, advise that we appoint this road as like the access to the park. Not that you have to take that, but we would say this is the preferred method because the visibility is better. Those are some of the things that we're looking to at least advise. And I mean, I know Victor's goal was to have a boulevard on Red School Lane, but that was something like, if we wanted to do something like this, just to enhance the town so that people will go outside and enjoy it more, little things like that.
Do they have a budget at all?
We have no money.
There's no money?
No money.
Okay, so
Everything would have to come here if we were going to ask for money.
okay. Okay.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes, under the consent agenda, item 1 through 8, there are approved multiple professional service contracts. There's a resolution authorizing the redemption of 1, 2, 3 tax sale certificates and to authorize a refund of an overpayment in the amount of $79.57. Is there a motion on items 1 through 8?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider,
I have some no's on some of those.
Right.
Okay. No to 1, no to number 2, yes to number 3, no to number 4, yes to number 5, 6, 7, 8.
So, got that. Number 1, Councilman Bocaro.
Councilman Belcaro,
Yes. So,
Councilwoman McCabe,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. Under council reports, defer to the council president first. Mr. Jessel.
All right, where should I start? The LAA, Bill McAuliffe is our new football director. We have an opening for a soccer director. So the volunteer form is out on the website if you want to fill it out. Jim Polito's here. If you have any questions, you can ask him about what he does. We're looking to create some new fundraisers. So as we have information on those, I'll bring them back to you. From technology, Rachel has been doing a lot of research on different online payment services that we can look into. We found one that we liked, so once she presents it, we're going to present everything to the council, and I think we're going to end up going with that. That'll be a huge help for us. I want to issue a survey about communication preferences, email, mail, what else there is. The Recreation Committee, as I said, we just did the first reading to change the ordinance from commission to committee, so it actually lessens the power that the committee has to make it purely advisory. We have a great amount of ideas coming out so far. We are still, I think we have 1 seat left open. We do have the LAA that's coming, the PTA that's coming, and right now we are determining the day for Lopatcong Day. I'll get back to you on that. For the DPW, I know that they have been up since 1 a.m., so I thank you for being here and doing all that you can do. Thank you for knocking over my garbage can, too. But that's okay. I know it's very tough. I was out there shoveling. It's not easy. I know there's a lot of concerns and questions. I know I was getting them when Victor was in the interim, and I know Donna's been taking them now. I kind of would like, I don't know if Donna or Lou wants to do this, to just get a little brief. I think if people kind of understand what's going on, like why people are like, oh, they didn't salt yet, but you know, Brian, when you can and cannot salt. And, if we just, I don't know, if we could just write up a little blurb, put it on Council Corner so then people can kind of understand a little. I mean, I doubt it'll stop the questions, but everybody's a little aggravated with the snow at this point. As far as the only thing I wanted to say about one of the things that I think we need to do, and I mentioned last month, is communication. And we as a council, regardless of how we personally feel about each other, need to communicate. Last year, coming in, knew, in light of all the hostility that was in this town, before my first meeting, I had put myself out there, met with Beth, met with Katrina, met with Doug, and met with Victor before my first meeting so that I had a full understanding of what was going on. We didn't have any training classes last year. I made sure this year that we did have one to help us out. And again, you know, now Maureen, Lou, and I, we have 1 year under our belt. That is absolutely nothing. There's, you know, there is so much to know about everything in this town. But we just have to, we have to be the leaders that we were elected to be. We're here for the residents of Lopatcong. So if it means that I had to, you know, go and meet with the mayor before I was actually sworn in, and I have to tell you that I was a nervous wreck for probably like a week before and a week afterwards. That's what we have to do. And sorry. It's a job. This is a business. It is a business that $22 million plus passed through, the majority of which we do not get to keep. It's passed on to the school and to the county, but it's a huge business, and we do it on a shoestring budget. Everybody pitches in wherever they can. The wealth of knowledge that's in this building is amazing, and it's there to be tapped upon. And all I just ask is that if council doesn't understand something and has a question, that we take the initiative and we agree to ask. We need to be proactive. We cannot rely on other people to maybe come to us or to be reactive. We only meet once a month, so we should have all our issues worked out before we get here, so we can keep moving forward. There is not a lot of time. I mean, unless everybody wants to meet more, I have no problem with that. I want to meet every week, but I doubt you do. So that's all I'm asking as council president, is that we be proactive and we keep everything moving. We have a lot on our plate and a lot we have to deal with, so, and we need to do the very best that we can for the residents of this town.
Yes. Let's see, I have to report. We had a planning board meeting about a week ago. We did our reappointments, our swearing in, appointment of professionals. The main issue on the meeting was the Phillipsburg Mall. They came before the board to finalize their subdivision. They want to spin off those 4 flats, pad sites that are on the outer, Panera, Chick-fil-A, Sonic, which is out of business now, but I think it's rumored to become a Starbucks, and Friendly's. And the only one that really concerns us is Friendly's. Friendly's is the one that's actually in Lopatcong. So we agreed and authorized that they could become 4 standalone pad sites. And I think that's going to be pretty transparent already, because I think Friendly's already paying their taxes directly to Lopat anyway. So that's not going to be an issue. Next is our EDAC. As you heard tonight, we just swore in Bruce Hall, so now we have 5 members. We now can have a meeting, because now we can have a quorum. So we'll be scheduling that before our next council meeting. Also, I'd like to thank the DPW guys for all your hard work. I know it's not easy, so I do appreciate it. Just wanted to pass that along. And lastly, I have a statement that I would like to read tonight. Recently, I was speaking with a resident of Lopatcong regarding an issue that he and his family needed assistance with. During the course of this conversation, the person stated to me that after I had placed my campaign sign on his front lawn last October, a woman came to his front door and harassed, intimidated, and bullied him because of the sign and his choice of who he wanted to show support for town council. The resident told the woman that he had given me permission to place the sign on his front lawn because he supported me. He stated to the woman that he was new in town, to which he was told that if he wasn't aware of all the issues, that he shouldn't put up a sign. I have a problem with this behavior. The behavior went on all through my campaign last fall. Some people who had a sign of mine on their lawn were subject to harassment, intimidation, and bullying tactics. I know this because I received many complaints from various residents. This behavior must stop. No one has the right to harass, intimidate, or bully anyone else due to their political choices. This particular situation especially bothered me because this resident had just recently moved to Lopatcong for a better life. I had told this resident that Lopatcong's a beautiful town and it's a lovely place to live and raise a family. I felt terrible that this resident of Lopatcong was subject to such harassment, intimidation, and bullying behavior by another resident in the very town that I said was a lovely place to live. It still is, by the way. I was ashamed and embarrassed that this resident was subject to these tactics. Do we all need to be reminded this is a free country? That men and women fought and died so that we as Americans could exercise our freedoms? We have the right to free speech. We do not have the right to harass, intimidate, and bully other residents because of their choices or beliefs or who they're supporting for in an election. With that said, I'd like to just request assistance from my fellow members of Town Council, the mayor, the attorney, and possibly addressing this issue on an ongoing basis. Maybe we can update an ordinance, or maybe we can put some kind of rules in place or set something up that would deter this tactics from going on in the future. Lopatcong residents do not need to be harassed, intimidated, or bullied for any reason, but especially not in order to obtain votes. That's all.
Thanks, Mr. Schneider.
Okay. Department of Public Works. Brian, I just want to thank you and the guys for fielding my phone calls and going out to the residents that had called for certain things, for their snow removal and other issues. So I want to thank you very much and for explaining a lot to me about the salt and, and your routes and everything like that. So I do appreciate it, and thank you guys for all the hard work you've been doing. Recycling and Clean Communities Committees. I wasn't sure what to do with these because there was no direction. So I called Mr. Camperine and I asked him, because he is the Warren County Recycling Coordinator. I had a lengthy conversation with him, and he's actually holding a conference at Warren Tech on April 3rd that I will be attending. And when the guys are a little bit free at over with Brian, with the superintendent, I'm going to go down there and see how the recycling works down there with their coordinator, and get to know their jobs a little better. Shade Tree Commission is on my list. I believe right now there's a budget of $500 in the shade tree. Yes. Okay. I would like to see some trees planted where some of the new homes were built and the developers just kind of leveled all the nice mature trees. I drive around some other communities and I just love to see the big mature trees and such on properties. So I would like to ask Paul if he could maybe assist me in looking for places that I could possibly find grants to pay for some trees and have them and have some trees planted. I don't know where to begin to look for grants, so maybe you can assist me with.
I can give you some suggestions, yes.
Okay, thank you. I do feel that they're a very important asset to our community, so that's for shade tree. Board of Education, I attended the January 7th reorg meeting. Bill Taggart is the president of the Board of Ed. Lou Rozicki is vice president. William Bauer is my board secretary through June 30th of 2014. I introduced myself as the new liaison and told anyone there if they needed any questions answered or any concerns to please contact me. I don't have any other statements tonight to read, but I would like to say that I am here for the people that elected me in. I meant what I said when I campaigned, and I am here to do what I said when I campaigned. So if anyone has any questions regarding where I stand or any of the issues that were discussed tonight, you are free to call me, free to contact me, and I'd be happy to tell you. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a couple of reports. One is the sewer. I just want to keep you guys folks up to date. We have Dan Manning here. He's our sewer engineer. and he had given me a report. So for the ones who are unaware of the sewer project, I'll just read a small paragraph here. The Township of Lopatcong awarded this contract to the contractor Dulane Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $1,578,777.10. The pre-construction meeting was held on November 25th. A notice was issued on December 19th, with 240 days scheduled to complete the project. And the anticipation completion date is slated for August 16th of 2014. Now, the contractor has prepared to mobilize for site clearing and stakeout. However, as you all notice, the snowstorms has hampered this effort, but they will commence shortly, and Dulane is expected to begin setting the wet and well chambers, then proceed to install pipe easements. The contractor, Dulane, is continually submitting shop drawings for review by JMT. JMT is the town engineer. To date, JMT has received 51 shop drawings from Dulane. GMT has reviewed 33 and returned them either be approved or approved as noted, or asked for revised drawings. JMT continues the review of shop drawings on an ongoing basis. So as soon as the snow clears up, I assume they'll be there breaking ground, at least clearing the site. Look, a quick note on the plowing. I know that I've heard some complaints myself, some of the neighbors that specifically after they've shoveled their walkways and their driveways, and this is before the roads are plowed. And Brian and the crew, they plow the main roads first. The other ones, they become secondary. So when people shovel ahead of time, and then when the plow's coming on the road, everything gets pushed back in the driveway. It is, there's no option to that. You have to shovel it back out. I do it, and all the other neighbors. Even though some people might get frustrated, it is what it is. So I ask for patience. I know we have some disgruntled citizens in town that curse at our drivers. They wave at them with their unattractive middle finger. And that's inappropriate, okay? These guys are working hard, and they're doing what they have to do. So give them some slack, people, all right? So pass that info to your neighbors. Now, just getting back to the past year I've been here, I tell you what, I have to share my experience being here. I know the employees work hard. I know that everyone here, the township is first and foremost to serve this community. I have not had any hints or seen or heard anything that what the perception in the public might be, as far as what I read on the blog sites. That's negativity, and it's divisive. I'm one of truth. I don't like BS, and I have not seen that here. So the perception, I would ask that the blogs that happens on the Express or anywhere else on Facebook is really uncalled for. It is really one's perception of what they view of maybe of us up here, and sometimes it is offensive. I just wish that if anyone has any really issues, they would come to speak with us one-on-one. But that is divisive. Just because you may not like someone doesn't mean you have the right to slander them or to talk negative. There's people I don't like, but you know what? I don't go down that path. People are people, and we need to get along. And we up here, I know that we make decisions that affect all of us. And decisions we make, we're accountable to that. Decisions we make on what we have before us. The information we gather from the mayor, from Beth, from our CFOs, our professionals. And we base this decision on facts and what's in our heart and what's in the best interest for this town. And that's what I've experienced, and that's what I'm going to continue doing. And I believe everyone here has the same motive to do that. So in this new year, I hope that some things can change, be more positive, and hopefully you get better reports. Thank you.
Just one item. Through the course of the discussions in Phillipsburg over the adjustment of the sewer rates, Mr. Pryor and I spent some significant time, more Joe than me, going through the old sewer agreements, the sewer agreements for the surrounding municipalities. Lopatcong's sewer agreement, intermunicipal storage agreement, dates back to December 1998, 2 years prior to my coming to the township. And it reflects language that says that it is acknowledged and agreed by both Lopatcong and Phillipsburg that NJSA 40A:26A-10 requires that rates shall be uniform and equitable, the same types, classes of use, and service between senders and receivers. We being the senders, Phillipsburg Sewer Utility being the receivers. We spent a great deal of time back and forth discussing what the significance of that language was as it relates to Lopatcong Township, in light of the fact that Lopatcong Township is billed by the Phillipsburg Sewer Utility a rate of 0.0058, and the residents in Phillipsburg are billed at a rate of 0.0037. Corrected. It was our understanding then that we did not believe that there was parity or equity as between the senders and receivers, between Phillipsburg and Lopatcong. When we dug further, we found that that language does not exist, at least not that we could find, in the intermunicipal storage agreements in the surrounding municipalities. It's language that's unique to Lopatcong's storage agreement with Phillipsburg. So based on that, we began having discussions with the town of Phillipsburg, and in fact, last year we retained counsel to assist us, the law firm of Inglesino, Perlman, Scala, and Taylor in Morristown, John Inglesino's law firm. We had some meetings with the town of Phillipsburg to discuss with them, with Mayor Wyant, their sewer engineer, their attorney at the time, Mr. Witt, who I believe is no longer their attorney on this topic as a result of this meeting, where we expressed to them that we thought that we were being overcharged to the tune of roughly $200,000 per year. We afforded Phillipsburg the opportunity to get back to us. In fact, we sent them a letter in November, November 15, 2013 to be exact, offering them 30 days to get back to us to what they propose to do about it. You know, silent across the border, if you will. But we feel we have an obligation to explore further the language that exists in our agreement but does not exist in the agreements of the surrounding municipalities, and to enforce to the extent that we are legally reasonably able to enforce the language that requires equity and parity between Phillipsburg and Lopatcong and what they charge sewer rate there and here. With that being said, Mr. Inglesino has drafted a complaint filed by Lopatcong against the town of Phillipsburg to enforce our intermunicipal storage agreement. I would ask council to approve tonight to file that tomorrow.
Motion?
Please.
Make a motion?
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes.
Councilman Del Piero,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cade,
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. That's all I have. Council reports. Tax collector? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I did want to follow up. I believe Ms. McCabe was hoping, I apologize, to have some additional discussion on your statement that you had, correct?
So if we want to discuss, sure. Or we could just do it for an ongoing between, I know it's an election year, so happy. Some ideas for, I want the residents to know, to be aware of their rights. They're the owners of the properties. They have the right to either have a sign in their lawn or not. If there's a sign in their lawn that they didn't give permission to, they have the right to take it down. It's their property. I want everyone to be aware of that. There's a lot of people that aren't familiar with the rules. They don't know what to do. So possibly maybe we'll do some informational statements on our website. Maybe we can set up
I can represent you, Ms. McCabe, after you mentioned it to me, that I called Mr. Lavery and asked if he could have one of the associates in his office take a look at it. Because you have to be mindful, obviously, of every citizen's right to express themselves. And, when it comes to regulating people's speech, and what's harassing conduct and what's bullying conduct and what isn't. If you're talking, when you start talking about legislating against certain acts or restricting certain activities, I asked Mr. Lavery to take a look at it before we start venturing down roads that uncharted territory or roads that we shouldn't necessarily be wandering down. They were closed. We spoke, I think, when I spoke 2 days ago. They were closed today due to the weather, so I don't think Ms. Campbell or any of her partners has had an opportunity to look at it yet. You may want to, if you're okay with it, give them an opportunity to kind of brief us a little bit on what are the do's and don'ts or the cans and can'ts, so that we don't do something, consider something that we shouldn't.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I mean, because it extended. It happened in my neighborhood. I got complaints. My daughter was approached at high school about some behaviors, which I do not think is appropriate for a 15, 16-year-old to have to deal with that.
I just think that it would be in our best interest to make sure that we understand what we can legally do before we make statements or take actions that we should take. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, listen.
I don't know if I'm going to vote on this individually or not. I have 2 redemptions and a refund.
Summarizing real fast.
The first one was a refund of block 8607 lot 1 in the amount of $1,158.20. Second one is a redemption of block 130 lot 4 at 2,035 in the amount of $2,209.92. And the third one is a township lien on block 87 lot 1.39 in the amount of $6,452.
Mr. Senator's recommendation. Motion.
Motion.
Second. Discussion.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Dontaran.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
President Chesler.
Yes.
Ms. Bilge is not here tonight. Mr. Sturbins.
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Motion to approve department reports.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pay bills.
Motion.
Second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Dontaran.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe.
Yes.
Council President Chesler. Yes.
Yes. Folks, questions, comments? Mr. Weeks. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Yes, ma'am.
And say your name and everything.
Yeah. Yvonne,
Yvonne, can
you just need to come up.
here? Yeah, keep track of you too.
Better? Yes. I live on Browning Court, which is a cul-de-sac, and we have a fire hydrant down at the end, and you guys are great to leave that open. My only concern is the storm drain. This mound that you can't possibly shovel. So it makes it real slick coming out of my driveway. Any suggestion on how we can, there's one like right literally at the edge of my driveway. Right, perfect, okay.
She needs to say her address and.
Yes. Sure, my address for the record. Thank you. Mr. Weeks. Sure, no problem.
Brian, I can't put you up on the record.
Gotta come up here, sorry, Brian.
Sorry.
Pretty good.
Not enough.
No, I just wanted to let Joe Fisher know, and the whole crew, but Joe works with me real well. What happens is I maintain this side of the town, Joe maintains the outskirts of the town. And, we pull together, we talk well, we all come together well. Areas that you can't imagine, from equipment breaking down to complaints, to everything. I just wanted to personally on the record say thank you to my crew, the crew, I guess. You know what I mean? So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else like questions, comments? Good.
I would like to express my agreement with what has been set up here by people about the campaigning efforts. I have noted that as a candidate, I have less legal protection under the law. But in the realm of bullying, I personally know that a former member of town council distributed what would otherwise be a libelous flyer mentioning me and another candidate by name. And that kind of behavior really is not helpful. It was a semi-literate effort to slam myself and Schneider and wasn't appreciated. I also know there's slanderous behavior, door-to-door slander against me personally. And in any other legal environment, I think it actually would be slander as a limited use. For me, it didn't apply. It was just merely bullying. I do believe the former member of town council may be serving on committees. I'd be more than willing to discuss any one of you and show you the flyer that was distributed, if that would help things. Or if you can think of any other ideas.
Anybody else tonight? Questions, comments? Okay.
Marla Indick, 10 Byron Drive. I'm nervous up here because I know when I'm done speaking that you all always have the last word. So I'm going to speak from the heart. And Mayor Steinhardt, what I want to say, first of all, to you is I have heard you use the word grandstanding at least a half dozen times in the past year. And I have to say, of all the people, you take grandstanding to a new art form. I know it's part of your profession and it probably works wonders in a courtroom, but here up on the dais, I find you use it very often to redirect, deflect, and shift focus away from the real issues. So I would like to be perfectly succinctly clear about a few things. Number one, at last month's meeting, what I heard sitting in the audience was Ms. Schneider say, as a new council member, I do not feel that a day or two is enough time for me to review all the information and make an educated decision about who we are going to hire for the next year for hundreds and thousands of dollars. Personally, I don't believe that that was a ridiculous comment for her to make. For you then to turn to your fellow council members and then say to them, remember, this is her opinion. Do you feel you had enough time? Do you feel you had enough time? Do you feel you had enough time? Is totally irrelevant. If Ms. McCabe, who said she had an opportunity the day of the meeting, she came in and looked at the information and felt those few hours were enough time for her to make a decision, that is wonderful for Ms. McCabe. But if Ms. Schneider says she doesn't have enough time, I would hope that her fellow council members welcoming her in would say to her, okay, maybe you have a point. So for her, the process is flawed. That's her definition of a flawed process. When she asks the clerk to make photocopies of that information, knowing that the clerk has requested 8 copies, why 8 copies would be requested if they weren't intended to be handed out to the council members to be able to bring home and review is beyond me. Again, I don't think that is a ridiculous request. I want to address the salacious voicemail that you played that Lori had saved for a year. And for those of you who didn't have an opportunity to clearly hear what was said in that voicemail, let me explain exactly how that went. For those of you who don't know, I was the campaign manager for Ms. McCabe, Ms. Chesla, and Mr. Swim in the 2013 election. We worked very hard, all of us, with a strong team of supporters. We gave up hours, thousands of dollars, and our time and devotion to those 3 candidates who were very happy to get the support. Things went along swimmingly. They knew what the platform was. They ran on a platform which they supported. When the time came for the vote to take place for the reorg meeting last year, Ms. McCabe, Ms. Chesla, Mr. Swim, and all of us had had discussion leading up to that. There had been discussion that maybe there would be new contracts. All the voicemail said to Ms. Chesla was, it did not say you are expected to vote in any way. It said, just want to make sure you know that you have a right to abstain or carry over or vote no. I'm not sure what it said. Just want to make sure you understand you have a right. How that is considered a damning message is beyond me. When people run people for office, when constituents vote people into office, I think there's an understanding that the people in office are usually supporting what the constituents want. There was never a demand, a threat, or anything of that nation. So how that is considered some sort of salacious voicemail, I'm a little confused. And Lori, I know you like to save emails. I have many, many emails back and forth between you and I, all in 100% agreement of everything, thanking each other, a friend, even right up to right after that meeting. I cannot explain, I will not try to explain what happened after that point. Things fell apart, I understand that. But this kind of thing, everybody can point to things that were said that they didn't like. Mr. Swim is right. We can point fingers who did what during campaigning. I know people went door to door suggesting that Mr. Swim beat his wife and candidates were with that person when it happened. I mean, so I think we can all agree that there is better ways to do things. But again, the facts remain. Ms. Schneider made a statement saying she didn't feel she had enough time. And then to come in here today and as a retaliation for her saying she thinks the process was flawed, to have this entire show put on is really, to me, the definition of grandstanding. And I know now you will have the opportunity to have the last word. I had to say that. That is how I feel. Thank you.
Thanks. First, let me thank you for explaining to everybody what they heard. And I understand that you don't think folks in town are smart enough to figure it out for yourselves. Your email says that. It's there for everybody to look at when you're done. But quite frankly, I think they are smart enough to figure out for themselves. My comments weren't in retaliation to anything. It's to set the record straight. And the record, quite frankly, is this. There's no salaciousness. The voicemail message is what the voicemail message is. You can call it whatever you want. I'm simply playing a message for folks so they can understand that what took place a month ago was the same kind of thing with the same exact language. Wait 2 days isn't enough. Let's talk about support professionals. The same thing that you suggested to Ms. McCabe and Ms. Chesel that they could do, and I didn't suggest that you said that they should. I'm just telling you that you suggested that they could. It's the same exact statement that Ms. Schneider read to everyone last week and suggested that was under some veil of not being able to do a veil of lack of transparency or impropriety void of transparency.
Unconscionable.
Unconscionability. In any event, unprofessional. In any event, the fact of the matter is, it was none of those things. What it was you guys trying to make the rest of us look bad and suggest that there wasn't enough time to review things, when in fact everybody had the same amount of time. We all had plenty of time. We all came in and looked at the drafts, and the reason why there's extra drafts is so that each of us, I know I come in and make notes on my drafts when I go through them, so I can write in the margins and figure out what they are. And then when I go through my packet, I know exactly what notes I made. My packet is mine, as Ms. Chesel's would be hers and Ms. McCabe's would be hers. So there's multiple packages available for each one of us. But the fact of the matter is, Ms. Schneider came here last month, like Ms. Chesla and Ms. McCabe were encouraged to do a year ago, and tried to make us look like we don't do things in a transparent way, that we just pick our own people and stick them in whenever we want to, and that there's no debate and, quite frankly, no competition, when the fact of the matter is that was completely untrue. Ms. Schneider came up here. She had the same opportunity. She chose not to do it. And what she did was just, quite frankly, regurgitate what you suggested that Ms. Chesla and Ms. McCabe do. But at least they were independent enough not to. And maybe that's why they've broken from you guys from a year ago. Maybe they've chosen to think for themselves. Maybe they've chosen to come here and put the town's best interest first instead of your best interest. And in doing so, they seem to have garnered the ire of you and a handful of folks from your group. But the fact of the matter is that your voicemail speaks for itself. I think every person in this room is plenty intelligent enough to figure out exactly what happened. You know, I sat down and went through, and it didn't take me long to figure out what happened. And, you know, I'd hope moving forward that people will put the township's best interests first and not those of 5 or 6 people sitting in the audience.
Yeah, I'd like to respond. It is well known. I did run with RLL back in 2012. However, we did part ways. I am no longer with them, and there is a reason. The reason was because they wanted to control and tell me what to do, what to say, as is happening now. And I said, listen, I got elected into the position by the residents of the township. I'm not going to let 4 or 5 people tell me what to do and what's in their interest. Our job up here is to represent, to the best of our abilities, the best interests of as many residents as possible. All residents. You can't make everyone happy all the time, we know that. But I am not and will not cater to someone's rules and someone's whims. One of the things that you wanted to do was have meetings prior to our town council meetings. You wanted to have meetings before them. You wanted to have meetings after them. You wanted detailed information from me. At one point, I think you even wanted some executive information. Well, you know what? I have some ethics. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested, and that's why we parted ways. So therefore, Marla, you can make all the statements that you like, but I disagree with a lot of your perceptions of this town. You tend to have some vindictive behavior towards people and are spreading half-truths. So I disagree with that, and that is why I'm no longer with RLL. Again, I'm here to represent the best interests and be as truthful and as transparent as possible. And that's it.
Let me see. The reason in the statement that was issued last month by Mr. Snyder, she felt that it was not a transparent process, which is what the mayor was trying to clear up. What I was trying to say in my statement is that it wasn't, the job didn't start like the day I was sworn in. It basically started the day that we were elected. And I had to, like you said, it was a very, what's the word? I can't even think. I mean, the atmosphere was not good. But regardless of that, I went out of my way to make sure that I talked to everybody before I came here to know what was going on. And that is what was discussed. That did not happen this year. And that is the thing that I guess that I'm most frustrated with. If there was an issue with what was going on and it not being clear enough, those things need to be discussed before the meeting, not at the meeting. Like, it needs to be discussed before. If you have a problem, if any of us have a problem, and we don't understand what's going on, we have to reach out to each other, or else the only people who are going to suffer are the residents. And the fact of the matter is that Maureen and I and Lou, it was our first year last year. At any point in time, Donna could have come up to us and talked to us, and we would have done it. We made sure that she had a training class. We didn't have one. Like I said, we had to, go around and talk to everybody. Just trying to make things easier for everybody, and that's all we're trying to do. And that's all I'm trying to say is, if you don't feel that, if there's questions or you don't understand or you don't feel anything transparent, we need to talk about it beforehand. That's what we're all here for. We're all here to work together. Of course, you can only talk to 2 people, only 2 council people can talk at a time. But besides that, we all have to help each other. Anybody who knows me knows I always think for myself. It's a problem. But we're leaders. We have to initiate. We can't sit back and wait for people to do things for us. I mean, I didn't just talk to the people here either. I actually have friends that I grew up with, friends that I work with, who hold positions of office in other towns, and I talk to them. I did my homework. That's the only thing I can say. And I have no problems if people don't have their homework, but to suggest that the process is not transparent is something that we need to address so that the residents don't think that we're doing something wrong. I mean, I would hope that they wouldn't. I mean, anybody who knows us knows that we're not like that. But, you know, I think personally there has been more transparency this year than ever before, and not because they were trying to hide anything last year. It's just that maybe they didn't understand what people were looking for or weren't using all the avenues that they could possibly use. I mean, everything we have out there, I think people know more than they've ever known before about what's going on here, and that's my goal, to continue to do that. And I don't know what else to say. That's it.
Anybody else, questions or comments tonight?
Olszewski, Highlands Way. I want to make sure people are clear. What Donna dared to do was trying to extend the period we need or should have to find the best professionals for the town. Yes, we, the people in the town. What we have here are people who come to a meeting and say they had 1 day to review the contract. We are running the town by a council person who said she had 1 day. All we wanted to do was to see if we can get better offers, better professional, just as the Phillipsburg School Board just did, reviewed all the professionals. The problem is that the mayor cannot keep all his friends in like he would like to. The way you treated Donna over the last 2 days is everything but mayoral. I'm not sure how you are in your normal profession, but that is not mayoral, and it's quite frankly disgusting. And you two, you know
What, Peter?
Don't point your finger at you two. You're overreacting to everything, and there's not truth.
Can I say something, please?
Relax. Let's get through the public first. Yeah, hold on, Mr. Patone's coming up.
On 36 Meadowview. As a less intelligent member of the public, just give my views on what I think, what I see. And what I see is that for the past 3 years, we've been trying to get bullied and misled by irresponsible Lopatcong leadership. We tried to come here and consistently undermine responsible Lopatcong leadership of the last 12, 14, 15 years. As a business owner and a resident of the town for more than 15 years, I've been to many meetings prior to 3 years ago, and I'm a member of a board that I sit on, and I see that this leadership, irresponsible Lopatcong leadership, through bullying of other businesses and residents, threats of boycotting businesses if they don't vote or post boycott or post literature that promotes their agenda. Other business owners who don't want to speak up for fear of retaliation. I'm here to speak on their behalf. Multiple businesses in this town. I raised 3 children in this town, and I applaud the mayor and the council and the past council for all they've done for the town. And what I see in the last year is that Ms. Chesla and Ms. McCabe were elected to the board through the irresponsible Lopatcong leadership, and that they have since decided to think for themselves and do what they were elected to do and sworn to do. And that is to listen to the facts and vote based upon the facts, not upon somebody else's opinion of what transparency is. I see now that Ms. Schneider has been elected, and it looks like they finally have someone here who will buck the system. And that I applaud Ms. Chesla and Ms. McCabe, and I implore Ms. Schneider that she better think and vote on the issues and the validity of the issue, and not what somebody else feels is that you owe them as a payback.
Thank you.
Bernie Gallant, 245 Aurora Street. I just wanted to say that it's not really unusual that you can't take contract documents and things like that home. I serve on the school board, and it irritated me at first too, because it's a lot easier for me to take home and look at something in my living room. But I guess there's a reason for it, for confidentiality and everything. And we have to do the same thing. We have to go in and we have to review documents and mark them up. And even our notes, have to stay in the school. Everything has to stay in the board secretary's office. So.
So on the end of the back, anybody else? Oh, sorry.
Council, anybody else? I didn't plan on talking tonight, but after being down there for a little while, it was good. For a minute, I thought it was good to be here. But, I'm sitting back there and I'm having a little hard time tonight because I've been in this town for 13 years. I bought my house for $242,000. It's worth about $250 today. I pay $8,500 in taxes and about $1,200 in sewer. I got people getting paid all over the place. I don't know how you get paid to be here tonight. It seems like a major boondoggle. A big waste of time of people fighting over signs. Mr. Sturbridge, who is a great friend of mine, is getting paid to be sitting right here. I'm very upset that part of my $8,500 is paying. So we need to get it together.
Anybody else tonight? Questions, comments?
Carlos Correa, 82 Pudding Way. I just want to know, like, a decision has been made of how the town is going to pay back taxes back to the Phillipsburg Mall. Whether what are the options that the town has so far? The advice from the CFO, that public information, or
I don't think we have a definitive answer to how yet. Obviously, a bunch of options. Try to find it in this budget. Pay over a period of time. Try to cut a deal with them all. Get the credits. We can bond to pay it back to them. Yes. In any event, those are pretty much the avenues that are available to us. We've only started to look at the preliminary budget numbers with this folks today. Planning to meet with her again tomorrow, Friday, but that would be obviously one of the topics of discussion.
besides the money that we owe them going forward, how much money are we going to lose because of the reassessment?
That's going to be because of the mall.
Yeah, the reassessment, how much going forward, like in 2014, the amount that would be lost on the revenue?
The appeal, it's not going to be $1 billion. It was just 5 or 6 times that.
We have to get the numbers. Yeah, because we got a pretty good deal.
I mean, it looks to me that we have a tax issue that is a big problem, and it didn't.
Revenue issue.
And yeah, revenue issue. And what I'm saying, my thinking is, I get a little upset that I hear a lot of, back and forth here. If you said, she said, it's really amounts to little. To spend the time and effort to try to go back and forth in this. He said, it's just kind of like for you to start the meeting with your statement, you just invite him to continue with this type of, it's your record, but it's our, I mean, we have it on tape and we could put the tape up and, yeah. But I'm just saying, it's just you said, he said, and it just doesn't seem to me that it's just fair to continue this kind of arguments. It's just like, to me, it's poison. We're gonna drown if we continue fighting like this, saying, you said, he said.
If someone suggests that we didn't engage in a fair or open process, someone's going to respond to that in this particular instance. That was we can get on about the town's business, if everyone wants to get on about the town's business. But if we're going to do that and suggest that people are doing it for the wrong reasons, which is what happened last month, the rest of the board is corrected.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to make a comment to the Beaver Mall, how it's the reassessment and how we lost tax revenue. That's why we approved to sell up those lots. This way, the money that's being that's generated from that, those 4 properties, can be reinvested into the mall, because the mall is in dire need of a facelift, exterior and interior. So, that's just it's a dated look from the 80s. It needs to be, redone, new construction. And I think only then, I believe only then, maybe new merchants will be attracted to that. And when new merchants come into the mall, people come, and when that happens, the value of the property goes up. And in turn, it's rateable for Lopatcong Township. So that's the plan behind that.
And the other thing I mentioned to Maureen on her comment that you made, when she got elected on 2012, we were there waiting for the results. And Maureen, you said to me personally, I can't wait to get up into that dais and say no to everything that Mr. Steinhardt will go for in January 2nd. That was your own statement.
Fortunately, I saw the light.
Huh?
Fortunately, I've learned there's some laws that have to be adhered to.
But again, I just
go
saying
willy-nilly.
what you told me directly.
That is what I told you directly when I knew little or nothing.
And you're telling me that between the time that you were elected, November 5th, and the time that you came December 1st, because you came to the dais on December 1st, that you learned everything that you know now. Thank you.
I will address that.
Anybody else?
I would like to, okay.
I know Mrs. Serban, she said last meeting, I believe, that you put papers in front of council about the sidewalk issue on Strikers Road, and you asked them to take a look on it. I know Mr. Steinhardt, I talked to you, and I also spoke to Mrs. Serban afterwards, as she directed me to go to him about concerns about how I don't feel like that's really going to address the safety issue of the kids in general getting back to forth to school safely. I actually feel like it's going to add more pedestrians to the opposite side where there are no crossing guards to safely be able to cross Strikers Road. So I just want to bring that to council's. I appreciate you guys, kind of helping me out here and trying to find a safe way for me to get my kids to school as an alternative. So I know I don't have to use my own gas each time, so I know they're getting there safely by vehicle. But again, I really don't think this is the best issue. I'm more than willing to try to work with you guys a little bit more to come up with a possible issue. But I just want to make that concern, to council. I really don't think it's a safe choice at this point.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the public? All right, we'll have the last couple of comments from council, and we're going to adjourn. So, let's go first.
Down there. There's been, for the last year, since we've been on, Maureen and I, a lot of talk about the RFPs from last year and the RFPs from this year. Again, if Beth will help me out here, I do believe we post, at least at the beginning of December, if not in November, requesting RFPs 30 days ahead. They have 30 days to decide if they want to send in an RFP and to get it right. Right, it's only required to be 10 days. We do give them longer. Last year, everybody but one RFP was disqualified because they could not follow the instructions. And I fully agree with disqualifying incomplete applications, because the first test is to see how you follow directions and instructions and show your attention to detail. To not complete your application in full, that shows no attention to detail. So I completely agree that they should be pushed aside. And then everybody, regardless of whether they were complete or not, I think, no, we only have one who actually gave us a rate and gave us everything that we needed, and the rate was much higher than we had. Then you have to sit there and look, and you have to say, like, how much work and additional costs are going to come into play if you make the change? How much is it going to cost the taxpayers? Will it lead to a tax increase with little or no benefit to the taxpayer? What is the ROI on making this change? And again, if you're talking, increasing a rate between like $25 an hour to $40, $50 an hour, there's no reason to do it. And that, that's the way I looked at it. Beth puts together a very comprehensive list of everything that they put in, and she makes a nice spreadsheet, puts everything together, and we look everything over. Again, I don't know. I just, I had a job where I would get called at 2 a.m. I'd have to research a problem, code it, fix it, put it in, test it, do all this, and it'd have to be done before I went to bed. So I don't know if that's just the way I am. It wasn't all that difficult, but I don't feel that we were, and anyway, I can guarantee, and I'll speak for you too, we made our own decisions on these. And I wasn't going to vote no just for the sake of voting no, because I didn't think it made any sense for the taxpayers of Lopatcong.
I don't know where to start here. I just want to say that I take a little bit of offense to people thinking that I am here because I owe someone or a group of anyone. I'm here to do my own thinking and to make my own decisions. No one tells me what to do, and I do not listen to anyone but myself. As far as the bids go, you know, we ask for 8 copies. Once the bids are in, they are no longer confidential. The bidding process has been closed. There cannot be any alterations, nor can there be any more bids brought in. At that point, there's no reason why they cannot be taken home. There's no rule, there's no regulation saying you cannot. For me to ask for them and be denied, there's really not a reason, especially when we asked for them to make 8 copies. To make notes on a copy here and leave it here really doesn't seem to serve a purpose. You know, I wanted to look through them, and, you know, everyone has their own way of, you know, deciding what should and what shouldn't be pushed aside. I believe that if a bid is close, or if a bid comes a little under and maybe they're missing a copy or something like that, you know, there are things that should be considered and that can be overlooked. You know, I don't think keeping someone here, I don't think keeping an auditor for 10 years or 15 years is good business. This is a business that needs to be run the way a business should be run. I don't think attorneys should be here for that long. It's no offense to anyone who's up here. It's not. It's just that it's bad business. There should be a turnover. And, you know, there are times that it may be a little bit more, but it makes sense because you need a fresh eye. You need a different approach. And that's what I believe. If they don't, you know, if someone else disagrees with that, that's their opinion. This is my opinion. And I don't think my opinion is incorrect because it's my opinion. I am here to do my job. I am not here to play games. I am not here to undermine anyone. I'm here for the residents. I did not run for RLL. I ran for every person in this town. And if you don't believe that, I'm sorry that you don't. But this is why I'm here, and I am here to do my job and to do it the best I know how to do it. So I thank you for listening.
I have one more comment. Just back to the RFP. We reviewed them, and they come in with the instructions that they're supposed to follow and the low bid. Now, professionals have been following that. I hear a comment that what Councilwoman said, that, you know, they're here for 10 years, they should not be here any longer than that. I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. We invested a lot of finances in our professionals. They know this town backwards and forwards and from left to right. Now, are we going to bring, and yet their prices have been staying stable without any raise, as far as I know. Now, are we going to just turn over just for the sake of turning over? Now we're going to pay someone to learn our township, billable hours? Is that the route we want to go? How would you feel? You're an employee, you work for me for 10 years. I invested 10 years into you. You got training, you know my business, and I come to you in 10 years, you know, you've been here too long. I'm going to bring somebody fresh in here. I got plenty of money that I'm going to invest in them. To me, it makes no sense. As long as the professionals are doing their job, unless they really screw up big time, and their prices have been right, have been stable, we have to go with the low bid, and that is our professionals. And that is my assessment of that.
I'm going to get the last word, and then we're done. So, a couple quick things. First, in response to the comment that Ms. Schneider made about regulations about taking bids home. be a little flippant in my response, but apparently the school board didn't get that memo either because, as you heard Mr. Gallant say, they do the same thing. And there's reasons for it, and it's that because in those bid documents that are often privileged or other information that should not make it out into the public beyond that which might be their bid number and those types of things. That's why we prepare the summary sheets. But beyond that, there's other information in those bid documents that one could consider either privileged or classified, and that's why they remain in the building. The school board does it the exact same way for the very same reasons that were just expressed to you 15 minutes ago. With regard to hiring professionals, I agree with Mr. Delcaro. Snyder, not with you. I haven't changed my doctor in 30 years because he knows my body. I haven't changed my lawyer in 20 years, and I think it would be foolish to do that too. Nor have I changed my accountant because he knows my business practices, and I think it makes sense for my accountant to understand what I do so that if I have a problem, I don't have to hire somebody else to figure out what he did 3 or 4 years ago. Same with my ills, same with my legal matters. When I became mayor here 15 years ago, the attorney at the time had been the former Democratic Party chairman. I was a Republican. I was pressured by the Republican Party chairman and the other Republican powers that be to replace the town attorney simply because he was a Democrat. He had been here for almost 18 years, and it seemed to me to be about the most foolish thing that I could do to replace somebody simply for politics' sake. So I kept that attorney here. It turned out to be one of the best things I did because he knew more about what went on in this town. He was the longest-serving member at this individual sitting at this dais, and I learned as much from him as I'm quite sure he did for me for the time that he spent here with me. So I respectfully disagree with you. I think that it makes no business sense in most instances to simply make change for change's sake. Lastly, and I will say this is to you, Carlos, if we are accused of not doing our job or not doing it honestly or ethically, someone is going to respond. I responded tonight. Last month, we were accused of not being honorable and ethical in the way that we handled the bid process. And my final comment would be on the issue of grandstanding, which the dictionary defines as to conduct oneself or perform showily or ostentatiously in an attempt to impress onlookers. I'm not here to impress anybody. I ain't running again. I don't need to get anybody's votes or do anything other than set the record straight. Ms. Snyder apparently has to impress you guys. We saw what happened to Ms. McCabe and Ms. Chesla when they don't try to impress you guys. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm going to say what's on my mind. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to show up day after day and do the exact same thing for the next 329 days till I leave. On that note, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Motion.
Second.
Aye.